incredibly pervasive spy. So how did we do it? Well, here's how we did it. It's the scene in the movie with the Palm Pilot, for those of you who have seen the movie, and the scene in the movie with the Palm Pilot, for those of you who will see the movie, was completely true. It was very, very accurate, and the director and I took great care to make sure that that scene was as it was portrayed, because that was the pivotal point in the case. Basically, for those who haven't seen the movie, I had this idea that this Palm Pilot that's always in his pocket, you know, he'd keep it in his back pocket, was important to him. He'd preach about it, he'd talk about how great it was, and how he programmed it himself, and he'd encrypted it, and the idiots at the FBI could never decrypt his encryption because he wrote it himself, ones and zeros. He was great, he was special. Everybody else was a loser, which was basically the things he would say every day. And I thought, well, if he's really into this thing, we got to get it. So we came up with a scheme where one of his bosses, and now we're talking psychology, he didn't like people he perceived on top of him, would take him down to a shooting range and challenge him. And he was also very prideful, and his ego was such that he believed that nobody could outshoot him, right? So the boss came in and said, no, you're going to come with me, period. And didn't have a choice. He was sort of frazzled. He didn't like that. Left his briefcase where he had taken the Palm Pilot, put it in. He grabbed his gun, whatever, told me, I'll be back later, and went down to shoot. Once he was down in the range, I had someone who was set to page me and say, you know, he's in pocket. And that's a industry term for, you know, we've got him. We've got an eye on him. He's fine. You know, you're safe. So I go over to his bag, come over to the side of the bag, and lo and behold, there it is. I unzip all the pockets, I rifle through his bag, and I find the Palm Pilot and a data card. And the data card actually had a lot of the information we wanted. And I was so happy that I found these things finally. In the movie, you know, in the movie, movie me is able to do things like a superhero, right? It looks like it took him a couple days. Everything he does right the first time. Real life me, this took weeks. There were a couple times where we're trying to get the Palm Pilot, and he comes in at the last minute, and I'm putting it back in the bag, or you know, we get him out of there and he takes it with him, or you know, but for every time that Ryan is able to do something great, there were like 10 times where Eric O'Neill, the real Eric O'Neill, screwed it up, or it didn't happen, or whatever. And those are sort of the ways to investigate. But you know, the movie magic makes me look really good, so I go with that version of the story. So Robert Hansen, he goes down and he's shooting, and I'm taking his Palm Pilot, and I run it down to where we have a tech team who's sitting there. And the tech team is ready, and they've just been sitting there for weeks now, right? In the movie, it looks like, in the movie, actually, Ryan takes it and does it at his desk. In real life, come on, they're not going to have me do that at my desk. So I run down the stairs, which is actually a little harder, because now I've left the office, he's out of the office, and it's basically who gets back first, right? So the tech team's sitting there, and they're bored, and finally I come in, I say, I got it! You know, I'm really excited. Finally! And they're like, oh, yay! Hook it up. And it starts the download. Because he had it encrypted, you know, they're not going to try to crack encryption right there. They ghost the entire thing. And then they can decrypt it at their leisure. So this takes some time. You're just doing a full one-to-one copy of the entire contents of both this data card and the Palm Pilot. And I'm looking at this thing happening and waiting, and I'm trying to be very professional. You know, not show my sweat and not jump up and down like a little kid, like, come on, come on, come on. And, but that started to happen, and that really started to happen once I got a page from my guy down the shooting range saying, "Abruptly left, coming back to you." And the only thing that made me not just immediately go pale is that I timed. If I went down to the shooting range and I ran all the way back up to the office, and I assumed that I caught the elevator right away, and I ran the whole way, I had about 7 or 8 minutes, right? Hansen walks with a limp. He sort of lurched, as he walked, and Chris Cooper got that very well in the movie. So I figured maybe a little slower, but let's call it 7 minutes just to be real safe. So I told the guy, you got 5, because I got to get up 3 flights of stairs in the room and get this thing back in the bag. And they're like, yeah, we'll get it. I'm like, no, you get it now. So finally he gets it done. I take it, and run up it, run all these flights of stairs up in the room. And remember, nobody else in the FBI, except for a handful of people in headquarters, knew that Robert Hansen was Robert Hansen. They thought this is a section chief in charge of information assurance. We were tricking everybody because you you keep what's called the bigot list, the list of people who are in the know, the people, the 4 eyes only, you hear in James Bond. You keep that list small, and then you have less of a chance that there could be a mistake, that there could be an inadvertent release of information. So these people see me tearing through the halls and have no idea why, Robert Hansen's aide is running through the halls. And I get to the room, and the room is just like, actually the room is a one-to-one recreation of what it was like in real life in the movie, because I actually had pictures, and the FBI allowed the director and the producers and the props crew and the construction crew to go in and take pictures of the FBI, of the hallway, of where the room was and everything. So it was created perfectly, actually, in a set in Toronto. So there's big, huge soundstage, and then you've got this little FBI hallway, which was sort of a Y-shaped hallway that's open on either end, sitting there, and that's where it was filmed. A little bit more inside stuff. But anyway, I get back to the room, I shut the door behind me, which is what saved my life, get in his office, kneel down in front of his bag, and my next thought was, oh darn, although that wasn't the word I used. I've opened all 4 pockets. I was so excited that I found the thing, I didn't do the intelligent thing, like put a post-it note or, I don't know, a hair or something to say, this is the right pocket. And I'm looking at the bag saying, wow, 4 identical pockets, no idea which one I took them out of. And I thought, and I've said this so many times, and it still makes me feel a little nervous. I thought, okay, I'm going to try to do some kind of Zen thing where I'm going to go back in my mind and visualize and say, okay, there's the pocket, and this is where and I hear him coming through the door, right there. Oh, can't visualize, dropped it, zip, 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 and ran back to my desk in time. He goes into his office, slams his door, giving me one kind of lurching, evil look. And I'm not. This is true. It's not just the movie. This is the guy who's perfect for a movie, right? Lurching, evil look. Gave me one of those. And so he goes into his office, and I hear him opening the bag. And I thought, yeah, it's the Palm Pilot. He realized that he didn't have it, and so I hope I got it in the right bag. And at that moment, I had to decide. I had to make this decision, sitting at my desk, trying not to sweat. I can get up and run down the hall and probably be safe because, running down the hall away from him. But if it was indeed the Palm Pilot and he comes out of the room and he sees me running down the hall, that's going to be a pretty big tell to the spy that this is an investigation. Or I can sit here and hope that I was right. And I thought, I got what? You guys do the math. You guys are better at math than I am, I'm sure. 4 pockets, 2 devices. Not the best chance. I wouldn't go to Vegas with that. And sit there and, if I am wrong, take my medicine, try to spin it, come up with something, keep the case going. Multi-million-dollar case. A lot of careers were on the line. And I felt that this was my fault because my mistake, and I had to sit there and take it. And he was the kind of guy where a soundproof room, it's a skiff, so it's a secure room. If anybody knows what a skiff is, no sound gets out, that sort of things. He might have come out, and he was the sort of individual that there is a chance, of course, that he could have shot me, left the room, closed the door, and they'd found me later when it started to smell. So I think that clearly I got the device in the pockets right. I stayed at the desk, and I was in my mind trying to come out. And he came out and asked if I'd been in his office, and I said I'd been in there to leave a memo there. Did you touch my back? And maybe I bumped it with my foot. What's your problem? What's the matter with you? Can you take everything and push it down, right? And he said, well, don't go in my office again. And he was back in his office and slammed the door. So that Palm Pilot had what we needed to catch him. Not only additional copies of the letters that we had received from our asset that defected from Russia, which confirmed that this was the guy we were looking for, but also when we did the math, when we cracked his encryption in the way that he hid dates, he would exchange numbers and multiply them, and then you'd get a solid date. His drop date, when he was going to make his next drop, indeed where it was going to be, and so we could be there in front of him, the guys in the camouflage and binoculars, out in the wooded area of Foxton Park, taking pictures of him in the act so that we could get him for espionage, not just conspiracy to commit espionage, but espionage. So it was very successful, and if this